Supreme Lord Sri Swaminarayan, for the omni benefit of mankind, has directed 5 great pseudo-codes for better conduct, which is capable of transforming human to attain divinity. The proven path, which is explained by Anadi Muktaraj Pujya Sri Narayan Bhai, is very practical and scientific for spiritual pathfinders. This book is available in published form as well. Considering the latest technological revolution, we at Sri Swaminarayan Divine Mission are happy to publish this audio version for the omni benefit of mankind. We kind-heartedly pray in the lotus feet of Supreme Lord Sri Swaminarayan, the great Anadi Mukta Abjibapa Shri, the great Sadgurus and Anadi Muktaraj Sri Narayan Bhai, to shower the choicest blessings on all. It is worth mentioning that we shall be celebrating 100 years of divine incarnation of Anadi Muktaraj, Param Pujya Sri Narayan Bhai Giga Bhai Thakkar. This special occasion with the blessings of Lord Swaminarayan shall be celebrated in a grandeur and joyous atmosphere on the 16th February 2022, Wednesday, Samvat 2078, Mahasud Punam. On this divine occasion, the celebration shall be witnessed from the 16th February 2021 to 16th February 2022 in various forms. At the end of the year, as part of the grand celebration full of divinity, a Satsang Brahma Yagna shall be performed. This being the 100th centenary year, we are extremely happy to present the 5 moral codes. Five moral codes and their importance. The ultimate supreme God, Bhagwan Sri Swaminarayan, who is worthy of devotion and emancipator of sinners, has given Panchavartaman, 5 moral codes, which are fundamental laws leading towards superior quality of life for the evolvement of human life, which is the best rung or the best step on the ladder of spiritual evolution of living organism of this world. By following these moral codes, an animal could be transformed into a human, and a human could be transformed into Narayan, that is, attains godly characteristics. A soul can get united with divine form of God, that means human of lowest category, that is, like animals, could be transformed into a real human being, means Nar, and Nar could be transformed into Narayan, meaning a human being can attain the divine state of a Mukta, who is firmly united with divine form of God, and therefore he is equally divine as God. Panchavartaman means 5 great vows: renouncement of intoxicants, renouncement of violence, renouncement of theft, renouncement of sensuality, and not to defile others, nor to get defiled. A seeker is not capable of understanding gross and subtle meanings of these 5 moral codes on his own, through his limited intelligence. To understand these moral codes in their real sense, it is inevitable to establish unity, association, and service to God and His enlightened and spiritually accomplished Muktas, who are united with divine form of God eternally. These 5 moral codes could be followed in its real sense only after acquiring clear understanding about them from God or God-realized Muktas. Otherwise, there is some lapse or fault in their observance, or the observance becomes mechanical. Such mechanical observance can get temporary praise in this world, but spiritual evolvement is not possible. At first glance, 5 moral codes seem very simple or gross, but in depth, they are very refined and subtle. Through contact of God or His Mukta, by elaborate observation of their speech and behavior, and by following their teachings, the subtle meaning of 5 moral codes becomes crystal clear, which creates longing for their proper observance. Afterwards, their observance becomes possible. Proper observance purifies senses and inner conscience, and there is increase in sattvic tendencies. Proper knowledge of divine form of ultimate supreme God, meditation and devotion destroys the dense darkness of ignorance and illuminates the bright light of direct knowledge in a seeker's heart, which is purified and full of sattvic attributes. As a result, a seeker realizes the spiritual divine form of God and attains the ultimate goal of his spiritual endeavor, the ultimate salvation. This makes it clear that how important are the 5 moral codes in life. Proper observance of 5 moral codes with proper understanding is as essential as breathing oxygen to survive for a living being is, or we may say, proper observance is even more essential. A thoughtful, receptive, seeker desirous of salvation would certainly understand this fact. By proper observance of 5 moral codes, impurities of a seeker in the form of various weaknesses are removed, and his life becomes transparent and pure like a crystal. Then manifests God's divine, liberating, spiritual attributes in him. Through these attributes, a seeker can attain great spiritual progress and also becomes capable of helping other living beings on spiritual path. He becomes the best medium of God. Atmano mokshartha jagdvitaya cha. According to this statement, first of all, he liberates his own soul, and then he becomes spiritually accomplished to emancipate the world. Therefore, observance of 5 moral codes should not be mechanical and restricted by gross physical understanding, but it should be accompanied by in-depth subtle spiritual understanding. These 5 moral codes are not restricted only for the devotees of Swaminarayan sect. These are omni-beneficial. Swaminarayan sect is not an orthodox or confined sect or faction. Swaminarayan sect is a world religion. It is a global religion. Emancipator of sinners, Bhagwan Sri Swaminarayan has established a systematic organization and prepared a constitution which is known as Swaminarayan sect to channelize and guide the human beings on the best path which leads them towards their higher spiritual goal. By following the sect, a seeker can follow certain principles and codes of conduct and mold his life in proper manner and attain the highest spiritual evolvement of his soul. 5 moral codes given by Bhagwan Swaminarayan include naturally many liberating, ideal virtues like proper code of conduct, non-violence, truth, pious behavior, forgiveness, endurance, honesty, morality, purity, peace of mind, self-restraint, patience, purity of inner and outer senses, control over passions of body and mind, tolerance, harmony, stability, detachment, desire of salvation, modesty, good character, compassion, unity, generosity, brotherhood, humanity, etc. The virtues described in Yoga Shastra such as Yam, truth, non-violence, non-stealing, celibacy, non-possessiveness, and Niyam, purity, contentment, austerity, study, attentiveness to divine, etc., are also included automatically in 5 moral codes. Observance of 5 moral codes is the most essential for a person's material and spiritual development, material and spiritual accomplishments, molding the life in proper way and character building. Therefore, it is not at all advisable to ignore them. A devotee who is observing the 5 moral codes properly is a real devotee of Bhagwan Swaminarayan. For the devotees of any other religion also, these moral codes are equally beneficial, because the 5 moral codes given by Bhagwan Swaminarayan are not restricted to only Swaminarayan sect, but they affect all the religions of the world. As per the saying, charity begins at home. If each and every person of society understands the real meaning of 5 moral codes and mold their lives accordingly, and if they observe 5 moral codes properly to attain material prosperity, based on sattvic tendencies and spiritual accomplishments of highest category, material and spiritual attainments, and 4-fold attainments, that is, dharma, artha, kam, moksha, described by the scriptures, then he can attain all these accomplishments without fail. As well as in today's age, the evils spread in society under the influence of Kali like chaos, disorder, anarchy, corruption, immoral behavior, abnormality, injustice, lack of harmony, etc., could be eradicated, and virtues like peace, compassion, unity, brotherhood, harmony and humanism in its real sense could flourish and spread everywhere. Today's youth who have lost sense of direction could find real path of life, and most of the difficult problems and complex issues of the world would be solved on its own. It is very important for a seeker desirous of salvation to attain the grace of God or his pious saint to properly observe the 5 moral codes after understanding their real sense. Such grace could be attained through contact, association and service to God or his pious saint with true devotion. When God or his pious saint are not present on this earth in their physical forms, their grace could shower on a seeker if he prays repeatedly in front of their inspiring, divine forms with total concentration and complete devotion, and remains in their contact by remembering the essence of their teachings all the time. And by grace of God or his saint's strong desire, understanding and willpower to observe the 5 moral codes originates in a seeker. Therefore, he becomes eligible to observe the moral codes in their real sense. Afterwards, through observance, he attains the ekantic state required for self-realization and God-realization. We have discussed the importance of 5 moral codes. Now, let us discuss in detail the gross and subtle meanings of the 5 moral codes, means 5 great vows, one by one. First moral code: renouncement of intoxicants. What is an intoxicant? First of all, let us examine the literal meaning of intoxicant. The term intoxicant is mainly used for alcoholic drinks, which are intoxicating or addictive, prepared from various substances through various procedures. They are also known as madhya, sura, sharab, somras, madira, etc. These are various types of such alcoholic drinks. Today, the number of alcoholic addicts has increased manifolds. People consume alcohol just to show off, to enjoy sexual pleasures, or to relieve physical pain or mental agony. After experiencing the inebriating effects of alcohol, people are repeatedly tempted towards such drinks to experience the exhilarating effect, and eventually they get addicted. Once addicted to such a vice, they cannot control their urge to consume alcohol. In spite of knowing the adverse impact of alcohol, an addict cannot escape from the grip of addiction. Consumption of alcohol can stimulate the nervous system temporarily. Therefore, physical pain, mental agony, depression, stress, tension, etc., mental afflictions are forgotten for a short while. But an addict wants to ignore the fact that frequent consumption of alcohol makes his future hazy and hopeless. His social, economic, and family life is destroyed. Frequent consumption of alcohol weakens the nerves of a person. Efficiency of brain, liver, heart, and other organs is also affected, and numerous physical and mental complications arise. It is said very appropriately that an addict does not consume alcohol, but alcohol consumes an addict. That means alcohol dissipates his physical, mental, financial, and social capabilities and destroys him. Spiritual awareness of an addict is almost nil, and he attains misfortune. There are various reasons of addiction. 1. Lack of social compatibility. Main reasons of addiction are misunderstanding and quarrels with relatives, loved ones, friends, incompatibility among husband and wife, failure in love affairs or failure in business, employment, studies, politics, etc., any field of interest. Respectable and influential people in society also consume alcohol to reduce tension, stress and worries they have to face due to numerous responsibilities and duties, to relieve the pain, to sleep peacefully, for enjoyment while in company of friends, or attending social gatherings, to develop business relations, to attain desired goals, to accomplish his own or someone else's motive, or to show off. Initially, alcohol stimulates the nervous system, and gradually it induces depression. Later on, it generates physical as well as mental dependence. Eventually, alcohol is required in more and more quantity. By not taking alcohol or reducing the quantity, an addict feels cramps and convulsions in his body. He cannot sleep properly and loses his appetite. Thus, the habit to consume alcohol is firmly established and takes the form of addiction. An addict becomes a slave to alcohol. 2. Religious purpose. Among some aborigines and backward castes, alcohol is consumed freely during certain religious ceremonies and celebrations. Even women and children consume alcohol. In our country, it is considered fashionable to enjoy alcohol and gambling on festival days like Holi, Dhuleti, Makar Sankranti, Janmashtami, New Year, Christmas, etc. People of certain castes take alcohol liberally as a tradition. Other people also imitate them and get caught into the grip of this vice. 3. Ignorance. A lot of illiterate and ignorant people consume more alcohol. In India, consumption of alcohol has been noticed chiefly among the workers and people of socially and economically backward classes of lower castes. They consume country liquor to relieve physical and mental strain. Some of them are drawn to alcohol due to lack of means of entertainment. 4. Physiological reason. Soldiers, businessmen, students, criminals, etc. who are staying away from their family get addicted to alcohol to get rid of monotony and loneliness of their lives. They go out of control because family members are not there to restrict them. Unemployed people consume alcohol to forget their problems, and some people consume alcohol as they are suffering from inferiority complex. There are many causes responsible for the addiction to alcohol: social or economic insecurity, filthy residential areas, hunger, lack of proper entertainment, responsibilities beyond capacity are few of them. 5. Fashion. It is considered fashionable to take alcoholic drinks among the people of so-called high society. They make fun of a person who refuses to take drink and call him impractical, vain, coward, old-fashioned or narrow-minded. Children, adolescents and youth of such families are drawn to alcohol out of curiosity, watching their elders enjoying the alcohol and then get addicted to such a horrible vice. Young people are tempted to take alcoholic drinks watching attractive advertisements on media like TV channels, etc. Effects of alcohol. 1. Stage of excitement. Alcohol stimulates the nervous system of a person, so he feels excitement. He feels overconfident and slowly he loses his self-control. His talk becomes meaningless and superfluous. He cannot distinguish between relevant or irrelevant, good or bad, and loses the awareness of his clothes. His concentration is affected and decision power is destroyed. 2. Incoordination stage. This stage is reached when alcohol content in blood is approximately 100 cc. Such a person behaves strangely, talks nonsense, and acts violently. He displays negative approach, loses his equilibrium. His breath stinks of alcohol. Pulse is increased and feels nausea sometimes. Pupils of his eyes expand. 3. Stage of unconsciousness. Excess of alcohol causes giddiness. Speech of the person becomes incoherent. He loses his balance. His pupils contract and he loses his consciousness. After that, he falls asleep. When he wakes up in the morning, he looks depressed, weak, and without any enthusiasm. He experiences headache and nausea. 10% of alcohol intake is discarded through the process of breathing, urinating, and sweating. Rest of the 90% alcohol goes to liver and causes severe damage. Sometimes it causes fatal disease called cirrhosis of the liver. Problems created by alcohol. 1. Social. It disrupts the harmony among husband and wife or family and relatives. Eccentric behavior and speech of an alcoholic creates misunderstanding and bad image in the society. Therefore, people slowly cut off their relationships with an alcoholic. They lose their sympathy towards an addict and feel repulsive and hateful towards him. Number of accidents while driving and working in the factories increases due to addiction to alcohol. Rate of crimes like murder, rape, etc. goes high. Many countries have conducted research and found out that 50% of crimes are performed under the influence of intoxicants. Intoxicants can encourage an addict to commit suicide also. 2. Health, medical perspective. Alcohol can cause the cancer of mouth, throat, and esophagus. It damages the liver. It can cause a horrible disease called cirrhosis of the liver. It can cause dropsy. Kidneys are also affected, so an addict gets swelling on his feet. Heart is weakened. Nervous system is also weakened. Peripheral neuropathy. His fingers tremble. He loses his appetite as well as sleep and experiences depression, hopelessness, and stress. Thus, an addict contracts a number of physical and mental ailments. Thus, after knowing detailed information about alcohol and its bad effects, it is necessary to take certain precautionary measures. Means people of our society should be informed clearly and made aware of the harmful effects of alcohol. In this campaign, contribution of psychologists, psychiatrists, saints, priests, social workers, social organizations, doctors, Vaidyas, etc. is very important. If a person is guided properly and made aware, he can certainly become free of any harmful addiction. Thus, we have understood the literal meaning of alcohol. Similarly, other intoxicants like opium, hemp, marijuana, drink made from hemp, cigarette, bidi, tobacco, tea, coffee in excess and other substances should be considered similar to alcohol because such intoxicants stimulate senses and mind and corrupt them. They distract from the sattvic path of salvation and lead towards destruction. It harms physical and mental health and well-being. Such intoxicants can cause fatal diseases like TB, cancer, etc. Time, energy and money are wasted. The biggest loss is it hinders the path of spiritual evolution. Therefore, it is advisable to get rid of such harmful addiction at any cost. Subtle meaning of intoxicant. We have 10 senses in our physical body. There are 5 Gyanendriyas, mean senses of perception, which are Shrotra, ears listen, Twak, skin touch, Chakshu, eyes, vision, Rasana, tongue, taste, Gran, nose, smell, and 5 Karmanendriyas, mean sense of action, which are Vak, speech, Pani, hands, Pad, legs, Payu, anus, and Upast, genitals. And there are 4 states of inner conscious, which are Man, mind, Buddhi, intellect, Chitta, desire, and Ahamkar, or ego. A soul perceives the knowledge of outer objects with the help of these faculties. The soul interacts with the material world with the help of senses and inner conscious. Without these faculties, a soul loses its contact with the material world. Senses and inner conscious are attracted towards the subjects of their respective domain, like speech, touch, form, taste, smell. Experience of these subjects give the senses a certain kind of exhilaration. God has given the means like senses and inner conscience to a soul, but they are given to perform religious deeds, attain knowledge, experience detachment towards worldly objects, and devotion towards God, so that a soul can attain unity with divine form of God, and not to enjoy the pleasures of senses. Therefore, the means should be used with discretion. If the senses and inner conscience are attracted towards pleasures of 5 senses instead of divine form of God, that is, if the senses and inner conscience are tempted by the worldly objects instead of performing 5 means to attain unity with divine form of God, then they mislead a seeker and distract him from the path of ultimate salvation. This is the subtle meaning of intoxicant. Examples. 1. To listen to the obscene vulgar talk in bad company. To listen to the speech, music, songs, dialogues with keen interest, which increase rajasic and tamasic tendencies. To listen purposely to the speech which encourages and nourishes the evil tendencies, like jealousy, enmity, desires of sensual pleasure, anger, hatred, contempt, criticism, censure, ego, hostility, revengeful attitude, etc. are intoxicants of ears. Such intoxicants of ears should be avoided, and teachings of saints, holy scriptures, pious narrations of God and kirtan, bhajan, music and poetry, which are full of devotion and inspiration, should be listened, which inspire sattvic tendencies and spiritual awareness. Such exposure could evolve the spiritual awareness of a seeker. 2. To touch the objects which increase the rajasic and tamasic tendencies. A touch or temptation for a touch which arouse sexual desires are intoxicants of twak, that is sense of touch. For example, touching a man or a woman who has rajasic or tamasic tendencies, to touch the objects which are used by such people, to touch a sinner or a person of bad conduct, etc., are all intoxicants of touch or skin. Each and every living being and object emits certain waves of energy of radiation, which is known as aura or aurical radiation. These emissions are so subtle that they cannot be seen through naked eyes. These emissions have different shape, color, and dimensions. An accomplished person who has attained divine power through practice of yoga and meditation can see the aura through his inner eyes of divine vision. Modern scientists in Russia have invented Kirlian photography. Picture of aura can be captured by such a camera. Pure and clear rays of aura are emitted by pious people, whereas impure rays are emitted by sinners, people of bad conduct, who are impious and impure. Aura of a sinner who is always busy committing rajasic and tamasic activity, violence, adultery, dishonest talks, bad conduct, etc. can affect a person who is in contact with him and makes his mind and senses restless. Mental state and outlook of one person can affect the mental state and outlook of another person who has touched him or has come in contact with him. The effect is similar to that of an intoxicant. To renounce such intoxicants of touch, a seeker should try to remain in contact of divine form of God, pious saints and muktas, and pious people, and he should serve them. He should touch the objects used by such pious people. Such contact kindles sattvic tendencies of mind. Therefore, such contact through touch is considered as renouncement of intoxicant of impious and impure touch. 3. To observe an attractive form which create mental aberration, arouse any kind of weakness like sexual desires, anger, greed or infatuation. To watch a film or dance performance, buffoonery, farcical dramas, social gatherings, paintings, sculpture, idols, photographs, objects of art, scene which instigate obscene desires willingly and with interest, corrupts the mind of a person. They are intoxicants of the eyes. Such visuals stimulate desires and distract a seeker. By watching such scenes and images frequently, mind is attracted towards hideous objects. Later on, the yearning to experience the exhilaration and intoxication makes one an addict. As a result, pious and sattvic attributes of mind are destroyed. So, to renounce the intoxicant of senses of sight or eyes, beautiful divine form of God, and inspiring pictures and photographs of pious saints should be observed frequently. The objects used by them should be looked at. Natural scenery which could inspire sattvic attributes should be sighted so that the mind is purified. Visit to pious places of pilgrimage, temples, etc. can also purify the mind and generate sattvic tendencies. In this way, by visualizing the people and places with sattvic attributes and avoiding the sight of objects having rajasic and tamasic attributes or having obscene qualities, the intoxicants of eyes could be renounced. 4. Inclination or desire to relish very salty, sour, pungent, hot, highly flavored, full of spices, sweet, luscious, rich and very tasty food which arouse rajasic and tamasic tendencies is considered as intoxicant of senses of taste. Excess of such food intake generates sensual and sexual desires in mind. Consumption of substances like onion, garlic, stale vegetables and fruits increases tamasic tendencies, which generates rigidity, narrow-mindedness and laziness of mind. As a result, grasping power, memory, and sense of discrimination are affected. Diseases like stomach upset, indigestion, uneasiness in stomach, bad-smelling flatulence, acidity, etc. are caused. Such food generates drowsiness and sleepiness. So, concentration in work is lost. In this way, consumption of food which generates rajasic and tamasic tendencies is considered as intoxicant of taste. People who are craving for tasty food forget that we eat to live, not live to eat. And as soon as they notice various savories, they keep on eating them the whole day. It has been forbidden in the Bhagavad Gita also to consume such food which incites rajasic and tamasic tendencies. Most of the disorders of stomach like lack of hunger, gastric problems, acidity, constipation, dysentery, abdominal colic, uneasiness in stomach, indigestion, etc. are caused by uncontrollable desire to eat various tasty food. To renounce the intoxicants of taste, one should always eat pure, sattvic, nutritious and balanced diet. It is advisable to eat suitable quantity which is required to nourish the body. Excessive intake of food is harmful for the body and mind. Each and every item should be offered to God with pure heart and then should be eaten, so that rajasic and tamasic impurities of food are nullified up to certain extent by the divine sight and purifying presence of God, and the food becomes sattvic. By consuming such food, one's consciousness is also purified. There are main 6 types of tastes: rasa, salty, sour, sweet, pungent, bitter and astringent. All the rasas are important for proper nourishment. Hence, the food having all the 6 rasas or tastes in proper proportion is considered as balanced diet. Such balanced diet nourishes both body and mind. Better spiritual progress is possible through healthy body and mind. Our body is made up of 5 basic elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. These 5 elements are nurtured by the 6 rasas. For example, pungent taste improves the fire element in body. Balanced proportion of 5 element is useful for proper digestion. Subtle understanding, sense of discrimination, grasping power, memory are sharpened by balanced fire element. Fire element is also required to understand the occult spiritual knowledge. Such fire element could be stimulated by intake of pungent food and hot food. But the intake of pungent food should be in balance, otherwise it could be harmful. Excessive intake could cause disorders like heartburn, acidity, piles, ulcers, etc. Hot food like spices, ginger, chili, etc. should be taken for pungent taste. Sweet taste nourishes the air element in body, which is available from ripened fruits, grains, vegetables, sugar, honey, sweets, etc. food substances. Appropriate intake of sweet taste improves the efficiency of body and mind. But excess of this taste could cause gastric problems, diabetes, and other diseases. Salty taste nourishes the earth element in the body. This taste is available in various kinds of salt, like sea salt, rock salt, etc., green leafy vegetables, etc. Excess of salty food can cause disorder of kidney, high blood pressure, anemia, etc. Therefore, excess of salty food should be avoided. Sour taste is necessary to nourish the water element in the body. This taste can be obtained from sour sweet fruits, tamarind, lemon, etc. Water element is very important for growth and development of body and blood circulation. Water element is required in various processes like purification of blood, excretion of waste products from the body, etc. Excessive intake of sour food can cause swelling of body parts, weakness of bones, disorders related to phlegm, joint pain, etc. Therefore, excess should be avoided. Bitter and astringent taste is required to nourish the ether element in the body. It can cure the diseases caused by imbalance of phlegm, virus, etc. Excessive intake of bitter food can decrease the virility and causes gastric troubles. Therefore, overdose of any taste should be avoided and proper balance should be maintained. When all the 6 rasas are in appropriate quantity, the food is called balanced food. Therefore, consumption of balanced and nutritious diet and avoiding the rajasic and tamasic food is considered as renouncement of intoxicants of taste. 5. Excessive usage of scented substances like perfumes, oil, cream, lotion, soap, talcum powder, etc., which have rajasic qualities and stimulate mind and senses inappropriately, feeling that such cosmetics are inevitable, desire to smell perfumes, flowers, ornaments, clothes, etc., worn by a person of opposite sex and having rajasic and tamasic attributes are intoxicants of smell. Excessive usage of such substances creates restlessness in mind. Restless mind makes the senses go astray and they are distracted towards their respective objects of desire. Thus, a seeker drifts away from his path. To renounce the intoxicants of smell, one should smell flowers, garlands of scented flowers like rose, jasmine, champa, parijat, etc., and scented objects like sandalwood paste, perfumes, tulsi, etc., used as an offering to God and to worship saints, considering them pious. Such a smell arouses sattvic tendencies. Bhagwan Sri Swaminarayan has mentioned in Vachanamrit that when all the perceptions of 5 senses are not worldly, but they are related to God, a soul advances on spiritual path or transcends spiritually. Affection, reverence, surrender and devotion towards God and His saints increase. Therefore, scented objects offered to God and His saints should be smelled, and the smell of objects having rajasic, tamasic, and repelling qualities should be avoided to renounce the intoxicants of smell. 6. Inappropriate and untruthful censure or criticism of a person, institute, society, caste, culture, religion, sect, deity, false accusation, usage of bad words, obscene vulgar speech, uncontrollable, disrespectful, nonsense chattering, telling lies, insulting other people, speaking in such a manner which hurts or derogates someone, speech full of anger, contempt and bitterness, speech which could generate anger, hatred, jealousy, enmity, misguiding someone through speech, speech full of selfishness and hypocrisy, speech which could create doubt and distrust towards a saint and projects him as a disgraceful and imperfect, speech full of treachery and cunningness. These are all intoxicants of speech. Contrary to this, as per the saying, Satyam vada priyam vada, speech should be polite, humble, truthful and beneficial for other people. If a person has prejudice, jealousy, hatred, enmity towards someone, your speech should be strong enough to convert these negative feelings into affection, unity, brotherhood, etc. Distress, quarrels and disputes among people should be sorted out through soothing and benevolent language. Speech should be utilized to describe God and His muktas, to praise them, worship them, and to narrate their pious narratives and inspiring incidents of their lives, as well as religious scriptures. Speech should be used to guide other people on the path of God realization and truth. They should be guided properly so that they can live their lives ethically and with high values. Speech should be without hypocrisy and selfishness. Thus, by utilizing the speech for proper cause, intoxicants of speech would be renounced. 7. Usage of hands to touch someone in improper manner, to beat up someone, to hurt or kill someone, to steal, rob, or for addictions and gambling, etc. Bad deeds is intoxicant of hand. Therefore, hands should be used to worship and pray divine form of God. Utilizing the hands for good deeds like serving, attending the saints, performing various means of devotion, like reciting the name of God, using rosary, serving parents, guru, ill, poor miserable people, performing charity, performing benevolent deeds taught by God, serving the society without any selfish motive or hypocrisy, serving the animals, etc., is renouncement of intoxicant of hands. 8. Using the legs to move towards performing addiction, violence, theft, adultery, corruption, bad conduct, etc., bad deeds, to kick someone out of anger or violent intention to touch a saint, idol of God, pious scripture, child, cow, puppy, etc., or container of food with legs out of negligence, to shake the legs in public in impolite manner, to use the legs for obscene indications, etc., are intoxicants of legs. Contrary to this, using the legs to go to serve and worship God, to go for darshan of God and His saints, to go for serving, contact, association of God and His saints, to perform pradakshina, circumambulation around divine form of God, to visit the temples and places of pilgrimage, which are origins of devotion and lead towards spiritual growth and progress, to go for social service, to go to serve poor and deprived people, sick people, etc., are good deeds which could be performed using the legs. Therefore, usage of legs for bad deeds should be avoided, and they should be utilized for good deeds. 9. Some ignorant people misuse the organs of excretion for immoral, unnatural sexual intercourse with a person of same sex to derive lowest kind of perverse enjoyment. It is intoxicant of anus. So, using the anus only for discarding the waste materials from the body and not using it for any disgusting purpose is called renouncement of intoxicant of anus. 10. Reproductive organs are not the means of experiencing physical gratification of sexual enjoyment. Therefore, they should not be used for improper, immoral sexual intercourse or adultery. It is intoxicant of reproducing organs or genitals. For Tyagis, it is forbidden to use genitals for any other purpose other than discarding waste from the body, because for them, it is strictly imperative to control and deny sexual desires or participation. For ideal grihasthi, devotees also copulation is appropriate to produce good progeny, but it is not for sexual enjoyment. Therefore, avoiding the misuse of genitals for sexual intercourse is renouncement of intoxicants of genitals. 11. Mind is the generating field for the thoughts and ideas. A soul can attain bondage or liberation through mind only. Manaha eva manushyanam karanam bandha moksho. To contemplate or reflect the thoughts with total awareness, which could generate sensual or sexual desires, thoughts which could nourish and encourage or dormant latent weaknesses, and mental aberrations like lust, anger, greed, attachment, pride, jealousy, arrogance, envy, longings, desire, censure, criticism, backbiting, etc. Thoughts which awaken the bad feelings like envy, hatred, enmity, violence, adultery, etc. Thoughts which could arouse such bad feeling is considered as intoxication of mind. Therefore, one should try to attain divine state of mind which is focused on achieving sattvic attributes by singing, reciting the name of God, performing meditation, contemplation and reflection of God. It is the natural tendency of mind to desire material objects available in physical world. Therefore, thoughts and desires originated from bad and wrong company should be controlled. Teachings of saints and scriptures should be read, recited, and listened and contemplated upon. One should practice to concentrate one's mind on divine form of God. Noble and healthy thoughts which are helpful for proper character building and spiritual evolvement. Scriptures or books which have such teachings should be read and contemplated. By performing such acts, intoxicants of mind in the form of weaknesses or mental afflictions could be renounced. 12. Compared to other animals, consciousness of human beings is developed and evolved in the form of intelligence. Lack of discrimination between meaningful and meaningless, right and wrong, proper and improper, lack of faith and conviction in divine form of God, disbelief, mistrust or doubt in teachings of saints, misuse of intelligence to satisfy one's selfish motives and arrogance, to misguide people through cheating or deceiving, etc., are intoxicants of intelligence. Therefore, intelligence should be refined by worshipping and meditating pious and divine form of soul and Supreme Being, by studying Sankhya and Yoga, by following pious lifestyle. Intelligence should be purified by discriminating between relevant, irrelevant, proper, improper, true, false, by trying to be modest and humble, detached or focused, patient and austere. One should try to avoid selfishness, hypocrisy, and deceit. One should try to strengthen one's faith and devotion through firm conviction in divine form of God and by performing austerities. Teachings of saints should be followed with full faith. Doubt or mistrust in teachings of saints should be avoided. By performing such acts, intoxicants of intelligence in form of impurities or aberrations could be renounced. 13. Instead of contemplating divine form of God all the time, to contemplate the persons, objects or experiences of five senses which are speech, touch, sight, taste and smell, which are having rajasic or tamasic attributes and belonging to physical world, are intoxicants of subconscious mind. To avoid this, one should stop aspiring for worldly objects or subjects and try to contemplate beautiful divine form of God continuously and meditate upon philosophical doctrine of divine form of soul and the Supreme Being. This could be considered as renouncement of intoxicants of subconscious mind. 14. The meaning of the word I implies ego. I am a man or a woman. I am good looking, virtuous, perfect with all the good qualities. I have no drawbacks. There is no other scholar, learned, religious, intelligent, powerful and wise like me. I am reputed, rich, powerful, prosperous and the best. My devotion is of the highest quality. I follow the religion. I am intelligent, clever, efficient and practical. I am the best artist. There is no other saint, tyagi, sage like me. There are very similar egoistic notions or conceptions perceived by human beings. Along with ego, the feeling of me and my is embracing a man like an evil spirit, that is trouble. Such false ego, pride are intoxicants of self-awareness. Its intoxication is far more dangerous and injurious than alcohol. Due to ego, one feels attachment towards one's body, relatives, and material objects related to physical existence. One also feels affection and enmity. To renounce such ego, one should contemplate that one is not the doer. Only God is doer of all, almighty, the most virtuous, the most knowledgeable and all-pervading. I am a devotee of God and His muktas. I am beyond three bodies, three states of being, three attributes, sattva, rajas and tamas, kal, karma and maya. I am pure consciousness, self-realized soul. God has liberated me through His unconditional grace and united me eternally with His divine form. God is the doer of everything. I am mere an instrument. When such conception is realized firmly, worldly ego is purified. This is considered as renouncement of ego. Thus, the first moral code of conduct, the first Vartaman, should be followed by renouncing all the intoxicants with proper understanding of subtle and gross meaning of the term intoxicant.